I'm saying.
Hey, is it okay if we meet a little bit later than 3:15 because I'm helping recording the meeting? Probably until 4, because I'd be home about 4:15.
Introduce yourself to someone you don't know, but later. Not right
Is that
this
true?
second, because every time I say that, everybody starts talking.
Okay.
So I will tell you when.
Okay.
You'll figure it out. You guys are smart.
Bye.
You can figure it out. Although you weren't smart enough to not do it in the never. Remember to wear your name badge. I forget who I am sometimes, which is why I need a name badge. So if I can't even keep track of my own self, how likely am I able to keep track of you? And we see each other once a month, so nobody's disrespecting you if they forget your name. They just can't bring it to mind. Yeah. Your cell phone, please mute it for now. You probably have an awesome ringtone, and we can share ringtones later. I've got a Christmas one, Holly Jolly Christmas, which reminds me, I'm going to turn mine off too, because nobody wants to hear that right now. So please silence your phone, and please respect the speakers, because remember, nobody here is getting paid. Nobody here is getting paid to get up and do all of this. So please, at least, even if you don't like what you see, you can walk out the back, but please be respectful. And why we are here, the purpose of this organization shall be to promote interest and skill in knitting, to encourage high standards and quality and workmanship, and to encourage the use of those skills for the benefits of others. Right?
Right.
So that's why we're here. A few normal announcements. The December deadline for the January newsletter is December 29th. Okay? And you can contribute by writing book reviews, event reviews, tips, tricks, etc. Right now, I just got a book from the library that is it's a Lord of the Rings knitting book by Tana Gray. She's the one that did it. You have that? You like it? You're like, oh, it has some cool stuff in it, but there's some other stuff that I looked at and I'm like, really? I am never doing that.
I know, it's just.
It's cool, but it's like, I'm never doing that.
Maybe the Rohan.
There's one where there's like, it's a sweater for an archer, and it's got these, where you pick up stitches and make like a chevron pattern, and it's really awesome to look at. And I look at that and go, by the time I finish that, I'll be 103. And they go, but see, that's what we need to, that's what maybe you need to know if you were about to buy this book. That some of these patterns maybe are really cool, but not so great. And if you've got something, please send them to Sarah, who also owns the Lord of the Ring books, Tana's Gray book. And if you put newsletter in the subject line, that'll help her find you. We have yarn for charity projects. Remember, it's for charity projects. Please don't take it to knit a sweater for your friend. They probably won't like it anyway. You know how people can be. Only certain people are knitworthy, right? So it's not for your private projects, but we have plenty of yarn. I see we have a ton of donations too, which we don't talk about. There's also a table full of free stuff. These are books from our library. Remember, we are liquidating our library because nobody uses it anymore, okay? And so we're liquidating it, which is cool stuff. I think there were earlier, I don't know if there's any left, there were Elizabeth Zimmerman books back there. Which I think, she's my favorite. She's dead, so we can't get her to come talk to the deal. But, I think she's cool.
Me
Our
too.
40th anniversary contest. You can look at both screens, you can see what's going on. We have hats, we have scarves. We have a few requirements, which is only that for scarves in particular, we need them to be 6 inches wide and at least 36 inches long for a child or 60 inches long for an adult. And we have fabulous prizes to steal a line from our dear departed friend Tony. We have fabulous prizes. For each of those categories, we're going to have a $250 gift credit card.
Wow.
For first place. It's got conditions, so listen till the end. Second prize gets $100 and a gift card, again, a credit card gift card, so you can spend it anywhere. Third prize, $50. Honorable mentions will get a gift card, probably from one of our local yarn shops. And here's the trick. We need at least 15 entries per category. If the category doesn't have 15 entries, no prizes. Or minimal. I won't say no prizes. We'll find something cool to do. But we want a lot of participation. that's the whole point. So we want to encourage people to participate, and if you want to enter, you need to encourage your friends to participate, because otherwise you won't get as fabulous a prize, right? Everybody cool? Now, here are some examples of items that might not be prize-worthy. These are all hats. The first three kind of look like something I might do on a bad day. That fourth one, I don't understand that. It looks like a mitten gone bad. I don't know. Kind of scary. But the whole point is that indeed part of our purview here is to promote high quality in our work. And so we want to promote quality in the contest. And we will have judging criteria. Design and artistic appeal will be one of the points. Originality and creativity. Color balance and harmony, if we have designs that are not supposed to be in a single color, a multiple color item, then they should be balanced and harmonious. Also quality of workmanship. So weave those ends in. I do a prayer shawl ministry, and boy, if I had $1 for every somebody else's end I wove in, I would be a rich lady now. Okay? So quality and workmanship, and of course it's not just weaving ends, you guys know what it means. Any questions about the, John will be up in a minute, he will be able to ask. Yes?
I have a question. I guess I didn't understand it. The workshop, it's not for the charity, or is it for the charity?
These would be patterns that would be added to the Guild pattern book. And one of our main goals is to use our items for charity. So it would be nice if it's a charity hat.
So you think either a charity hat, or it has to be a hat, or a
Scarf.
Scarf, not baby blankets, anything like
That's
that.
not in this kit. You know, we had to keep it somewhat limited, especially since we're giving out fabulous prizes. We didn't want to get too many things. Plus, you have to have people to judge all that. And the more categories we had, the harder it was going to get. So we've limited this one to just these two categories.
Okay.
Hats and scarves.
And
Yes.
this is designing.
Designing, yeah. It's not just knitting something you found on Ravelry. This is not just knitting something you found on Ravelry. This is your own design.
Okay, our own design.
And there's somebody.
And we can use real wool. Or-
You can use real wool. Some of our charities accept real wool, and I know that most of us prefer to work with real wool. John, did you have something to say? You got a man with
a
a...
part of our discussion of the fabric requirements, if the design, if you feel the design works better in a particular fabric, fine, go for it, but it's not a requirement that you use a particular, we wouldn't want to say that you had to have silk, for example.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to, it can be acrylic, it can be anything that suits your project.
Okay.
If it's something that, one of the things to think about, if we wanted to use this in future years as a charity donation, many of them don't like wool because it can't be washed easily.
But the original, if I decide to go all out and design something, you know, for
It can
example,
be
you
designed
said
in wool. It would be really nice if it's possible, because I know we don't like acrylic, but there are, because I use a lot of acrylic when I knit parashols, which I knit constantly. And so I figured out which brands don't feel like knitting with glass, which is a reasonable way to call some of these cheap acrylics. But there are some softer acrylics, but if you really feel like you've got to do it in wool, or you want to do it in
we
wool,
should design it and
That's fine.
be able to use any other suitable replacement yarn in the future.
right. And the only thing I would warn about in that is blocking, because acrylic doesn't block.
Okay.
I mean, I've tried, it's bad.
That is not a judging criteria.
Okay.
The choice of fabric,
Very good.
or not fabric, fiber.
And I thought I saw another question here, but it might have been somebody pulling their yarn out. I saw a hand fly and I was concentrating. You were just pulling yarn. Okay. Any other questions about the contest? Because we're really hoping a lot of people will come in and do this. Yeah, is there a limit on how many people can submit? We haven't talked about that. There's no limit.
I didn't give a question.
The question was, is there a limit on how many patterns we can submit? And the answer is no, there is no limit. I don't see why not. If
If
one
you want to
person
do all
did
15, that guarantees you a prize.
only if nobody else submits any. So yeah, submission don't count to the 15.
Yeah.
So
do all
if you
15,
really design something awesome and you're afraid your stuff won't make it,
you should get all 4
design a
prizes.
couple more. Design a dozen more. And all
your
of
free
the
time.
patterns that you submit could go into the pattern book. And that's great because our pattern book hasn't changed a lot over the years. I think we had a couple of patterns that were added at the 35th anniversary. And I think that's the last time anything was added, so. Any other questions? No, okay. Knitting Guild, we are a member of the Knitting Guild Association because we are a guild and we're a member of their guild. And I just wanted to put up the couple of meetings that they have coming up, one in January 25th. And I believe that you can do virtual registration there too. I believe you can go in person. John, you're a TKGA guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know other people come in person. There's a location, it's in Times Square. So obviously there's a place you
I
can go.
I have not done one of the on-site meetings, but I have gone to a virtual meeting.
And they also are having a next level knitting conference. We had a program on that last year that you did, John,
Yeah.
about taking your knitting to the next level. And those are very helpful. So you do have to be an individual member. So we're a guild member of the TKGA, but in order to attend these, you have to get a membership, which I think is like $35,
$35 a year.
which is not bad.
And it is, not to repeat, it is a wonderful opportunity to experience color work if you haven't. There are people that taught Argyle basics of color work. If you're working on any one of the master hand knitting programs, there are details and programs dedicated to that focus. So if you want to bring your level, you're knitting up to the next level, that's a good place to make your first step.
Thanks, John. Okay, minutes, just a little bit of business here, and then we can go on to more fun stuff. Okay, first of all, minutes from the last league meeting were in the newsletter. Does anybody have any changes? Or does anyone want to make a movement to approve those minutes? Joni made the movement, did anybody second? Sarah seconded it. Okay, so thank you guys. Next, the treasurer's report was in the newsletter. Are there any questions? If not, that will be submitted for audit. Okay, our meeting spaces for the next few meetings. When you came in, you probably saw the petitions that I'm going to take to the public library to try to get us into that Clark Family Library, that cushy, awesome space.
It's getting harder to hear you.
I'm sorry. They're making noise. Okay.
I agree. I'm hearing it on the far end of the room.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to wear it.
KBBC@gmail.com.
So these are the next upcoming meetings. When you came in, you probably saw the petitions that you can sign. I'm going to take those to the library board to try to get us into the Clark Family Library. And one of my arguments is that the Genealogy Society knows that they do not provide anything to the St. Louis community. They provide little genealogy tools. Sure. I talk about those. We can talk about them offline because I know all about them. I use them all the time. But we provide actual community service by making sweaters, hats, scarves, you name it, we make it, and we give it away for free. Okay? So that, I hope, is going to be a big draw, a big reason why they would let us meet in that facility. Also, oddly enough, the Genealogy Society has their meeting the same day as us. It's always the second Saturday, but in the morning. So we would be able to come in right behind them. They usually have about the same number of people as us, maybe 50 to 80 people, which is pretty much So they don't actually have to do very much to let us do this. So anyway, I've got that going, and I've got a cover letter that's going to go with that a couple members of the board, one has already reviewed and another one is helping me review, so I can make it the best cover letter that we can have.
Question.
Yes.
When did you turn that in?
When did I turn?
When did you turn the petition in?
I have no idea yet. I've got to call the library. When you call the library, you get the research librarian, and I haven't called them yet to find out exactly when board meetings are or how I'm going to get in. I might have to like stop people at their car. And I will stop people at their car. Do not believe that I won't. I will go to their car and I will stand. And they will call the cops. They will bail me out.
God love her.
We have the money.
You just want to know which board meeting. I'm going to find out when the board meeting is and see if they have a procedure for submitting a agenda item. And if I can accompany the agenda item, then I'm going to go in and speak. And if I can't accompany the agenda item, that's why I think the cover letter that I'm getting help with from board members is so important. In case I can't be there to speak, then it might have to speak for me, unless I decide to wait by their car anyway. Unless I decide to wait by their car anyway. Okay, one last little bit of administrivia that we have to deal with. We've been talking about the bylaws changing. Remember that we changed to more modern language. There's no more shalls and shall nots and stuff like that nobody says anymore. Thanks to Eileen, she took care of all of that. She is a saint. That would have driven me mad to do that. But she did that for us. And also, just a few changes. The links have been available online for 3 months now. So everybody should have, if you cared, you had a chance to look at it. If you didn't care, please vote for it anyway. Because it's not anything fancy, and this has been in the works for, well, those of you from the previous board, it's been in the works for at least a couple, 3 years before I was ever, so it's not what I want specifically. It's that it's been on the agenda for a while. Yes?
What about the bylaw change that you want to make so that the board can vote another member off of the board?
That has been included in this.
Right, but I would like to have a lot of discussion about that.
If you would, that was already previously in the bylaws, that if a person didn't, it was in the bylaws in more formal language. We have made it more obvious language. That was put in the bylaws in 2011 when we had 2 or 3 board members just stop doing their job. One of them unfortunately was the treasurer. That was fun.
Oh,
Yeah, when the treasurer quits and keeps the checkbook
uh-oh,
for a couple of months.
uh-oh.
Where's,
That's bad.
She helped with that at the time. She's not here now. If you want to hear the story, you can ask Jeannie. I'm not going to tell it here. But we had a couple of members that just didn't do their job and just quit doing their job.
Right, but isn't that something you should bring up to the whole?
Well, there's lots of changes, so, I mean, because of all the verbiage changes, but certainly we can, if that's a point you'd like to discuss. But,
Well, I just think that because all of the offices are volunteer, no one is paid, you tell us that all the time. I just think that if the board doesn't think someone is doing their job, maybe that person just needs a little encouragement or to either step up or step back. So then you could just do something. Why make it be formal?
sometimes it has to.
There is verbiage in the bylaws that says that efforts will be made, it's like in corporate world, we used to call it performance improvement program. It's not in that form, but there is.
Okay. I'll repeat what Sarah, unless you want the microphone.
No, well, I can yell too. There is verbiage in there. We worded it so that the board isn't just going to go, okay, you're not doing your job, you're out of here. There is verbiage in there that addresses, let's help the person, let's talk them through it. In the corporate world, we used to call it performance improvement plan and HIP, which said, okay, you've got 60 or 90 days to do whatever, and at that point we'll revisit this. So it's not a, board decides you're done and you're out of there. It's okay, let's try this, let's work it out. And if it can't be worked out, then the board will have a vote to, ask the person to be stepped out.
But why is the membership not involved in it?
Okay,
If it's going to
so
go on for several months, isn't it something you could bring up at a meeting?
we could, how many people here would feel comfortable about saying, yeah, I think that person's not doing their job? I mean,
Yeah, well, especially, what if it was me, and I'm up here, and I'm running the meeting, and Sarah thinks that I should be put off the board because I'm not
Right,
doing my
but
job?
the way you
That's a very
talk,
awkward thing to do in
it's-
front of the whole membership.
It's sort of sneaky.
It's not meant to be sneaky. I mean, my experience with members in the past who didn't do their job, and I think I have the most experience with being president and having people just stop doing their job, because I had, we can talk about it offline, but regardless, it was often because of illness of themselves or family members, and they couldn't continue to do the work, but they felt that they were letting the team down if they resigned. And we, as a team in that case, would say, you know what, we'll take that job for you, you're better off finding somebody else to help us, because you can't,
Well, right,
do
but
it.
you could just do that without making it be a formal thing.
According to Robert's rules, we cannot. We are a legal organization.
we have to follow certain procedures and we have to do.
But if someone just quits,
But the problem is they
That's a
don't.
public
I've never
thing if
had
somebody
anybody
quits.
I've never actually had somebody just quit. If they quit, that's fine, because then they quit and you can get somebody else in.
This is
The
when
problem
they're-
is when they are not doing their job and they don't want to quit for whatever reason. And it's happened more than once. Yes.
I agree. I think it's something that's best handled within the board itself instead of in public meetings. I think that would be embarrassing.
It's really hard to talk about, especially if that person happens to show up.
And in other organizations that I have been in, it's something that's handled within the board.
Not to mention, it's something, the damage caused by that is something the board has to absorb, not the membership.
Well, eventually you're gonna need somebody to step up and take that position. So I mean, if somebody's mother is ill and they have to take care of her, and we ask someone to come forward and fulfill that position either temporarily, or if they're interested in doing it, I mean, eventually everything becomes open.
I agree.
So I mean, there's no shame in having to go take care of your mother.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
I think the issue is, absolutely we would do that, we would ask somebody to come in and take, but we wouldn't tell you necessarily why that person, like, that's the part for me that I think needs to be on the board, because it's sort of a personnel matter, right? You don't want to air that in front of everybody, but if somebody, for example, wasn't doing their job, like treasurer or whoever, and the board decided, okay, we have to vote them up, we would then ask and say, we have this position now open on the board, somebody come and help, but we're not going to give all of those details.
No, I mean, you say for
right?
personal reasons, so-and-so is unable to fulfill their
Exactly.
commitment. You know, that can
But
be
it may not
public.
be.
That doesn't have to be, you
Right,
know.
But part of Robert's rules is those officer positions have to be filled.
Well, that's what I'm
According
saying,
to
we're trying to fill
According
it.
to Robert's rules, if you have somebody on the board and they're not doing their job, by straight Robert's rules, if we don't have modified in our bylaws, then you have to hold a trial to decide whether or not that person is actually not doing their job.
It becomes
I found this out the hard way, I had to go read Robert's rules and found out. Guess what, if the person doesn't want to quit, you know, you have to have, it even tells you how many people, if it's 10 or 12 people, you basically have to assemble a jury, and you have to have a hearing, and public. Okay, so you have to, again, you're airing dirty laundry that the person who is maybe not able to keep doing their job may not want to air.
Yeah, and I think that, again, we're all friends here, right? We're not going to, if it's an issue on the board, we are going to take care of it in a kind way, because we're all humans and we're all friends here, right? We're not just gonna get to kick somebody out. We will try to work with that person. But if ultimately that person can't do their job, then they're not serving the board, right? And so we as a board, or whoever's on the board, should be able to say, right? Because then, I mean, if we came to a meeting and you guys decided, no, they have to stay on the board, well, they're not doing their job, right? Like, it gets into this whole thing of weirdness, I think. And so, just, again, it's not, I would hope that we would all have enough trust in each other to know that we're not doing anything untoward, and we to be human about it and kind, and it's not kicking people off because, oh my gosh, their sweater doesn't look. You know, it's not that kind of thing. It's, they're not doing their job, right? And we have to have people do their job to make this organization work.
But don't you think
We've
it's,
got a hand raised, you can go next.
I think that these rules are to handle extreme conditions.
Exactly,
They're not like your everyday,
exactly.
you know, if something extreme happens.
Right. For example, some of you may have been in the guild long enough that you recall when one of our treasurers stopped paying the bills for the rooms we were meeting in. And we arrived one time to find that the room was used by someone else who had paid. Because after a certain date, the room was released back into the pool. So in that case, there's a real problem with the treasurer who's not paying the bills that we need to, in order to have our meetings.
I think, because I'm on a board too, I think usually the board knows the ins and outs of the situation clearly, and we just come and hear what you have to say because you're right there. And that the board should be able to do this, make these decisions without having the whole world understand everything.
But we did have.
don't you think though, if, say, my mom got ill, or my dad got ill, and I had to take care of them, don't you think I would mention that to someone? To say,
You might, we've had that happen as well.
You know,
And the rest of the board has either absorbed it or somebody has stepped in to help that person, and that's been done informally. We didn't have to remove a person from the board just because they had to go help their mom or their sister or somebody who was ill. Okay, so that's happened before, and that's not been a problem. The problem is when somebody just
well, yeah,
walks out and doesn't do their job anymore, and they still are coming to meetings. If we've got one person, I can tell you horror stories, and I don't really want to get into the details, but there are times when people stop doing their job. For example, I did one time have an administrative VP who did not reserve a room for our luncheon, and I figured this out the month before the luncheon.
Oh, God.
She had acted like she was doing things. She still comes to meetings sometimes. She's not here today, so don't look around and figure out who you are. It's not somebody who's here today, but she does still come to meetings some of the time. And she's not a bad person, just didn't have the organizational skills to figure out what she needed to do and didn't come ask until it was way too late. And in that case, I was the president at that time. May was on my board. May and I went and found a place and got catering, and it wasn't the cheapest event we ever had, but it was nice.
No, but you paid for it in the long run by having to do everything at the last minute, which
Well,
costs
it
more.
frayed my nerves a little bit, which is why I'm very interested in making sure. That's why I had that change made to the bylaws as I was leaving as president the last time I was president. That's why I got in there then, and that's why I wanted to make sure it was in very plain language now. Because our board now, you guys are all cool. I mean it. You guys do your work, and you try really hard, and you're busting your butts, and it's nothing to do with these guys. These guys are great, but not all boards are highly functional. In case you didn't notice, when it comes time to volunteer to be on the board, I say, hey, who wants to be on the board? And I hear crickets.
I mean,
Yeah. Right now, I'll be looking at
Heads
it.
down.
If I were to ask for a volunteer, all those eyes go to the ground. And everybody puts their hands under their butt so that nobody can think they stop knitting.
What your
because it's
girls
quite
do.
really hard.
Good one.
So it's not easy to get volunteers for the board to begin with, and to get a group of people like we have now, that where everybody is really firing on all cylinders is, wow, cool. Okay, great. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. So, any other questions about that topic? Any other topics in the bylaws that anybody wanted to look at or talk about before we vote? Nobody's raising their hand. Nobody's even getting yarn out because they're afraid they might. Okay, if that's the case.
Mary, there's a question.
Okay, yes.
What, does the vote have to be unanimous for it to pass?
No, it just has to be a majority. I think.
Oh, okay.
That's all, that was my question,
Okay.
thank you.
As far as I know, it's just a majority, and it's only the people who show up for meetings. So we have a lot more members that are here, especially since it's a rainy day. But we've been doing this for months on the board. We've been working on this for months, and I don't want it to sit until we happen to have a nice day with more people. Yeah, Sarah's laughing because she's one of the ones who's been working really hard. I see both Eileen, both of you guys are just laughing your butts off right now. It's like, yeah, but this has been going for so long.
Let's be clear that Eileen did the lion's share.
She did. Eileen did the lion's share of the work. Thank you very much. It was tedious, man, taking all those shells and that alone.
Search and replace. Search and replace.
Search. Yeah, but that doesn't cut it, then you have to read it and make it still make sense, yes?
I apologize because I just stepped out of the room for a second. But does this, like, what we're talking about replacing a board member, does it contemplate, like, a two-strike you're out? I mean, at what point, because I think that's important, right? At what point do we decide someone's not doing their job, right?
So the way the bylaws are written now, it's the decision made by the board.
Okay, so the board has the complete discretion to decide when that happens. Okay. All right.
I don't think anybody has put my name up for nomination for not being here last month.
Sure.
I hope. What if it were to
We
occur
tried.
2 months, 3 months? I don't know, maybe they'll.
You brought treats.
Before I joined the talk.
He knows
But
I'm kidding.
through Sarah's tip, it has to be something that is routine and not improving within a 3-month, however long time frame is stated. It has to be something that is habitual, and it's not resolving itself.
Yeah, we
And
did,
that-
we previously had an education VP just quit showing up. This was a long time ago, most of you maybe don't remember it. May is nodding her head, she remembered. There was a lady who's no longer, she's actually no longer with her, she passed away. But she had been an education VP and she just stopped showing up. And she had this long list of all these programs she was going to do over the course of the year, and she stopped showing up.
Oh, no.
And I wasn't president at the time, I was on the board, but I wasn't president, and the poor president would try to throw something together. Because we'd expect she was going to be here until, like, it was 2 o'clock, she wasn't there. And so about 20 minutes before that, after the first time she did that, we started having something in reserve for a program. And all that happened there is the president ended up absorbing the job for the whole year, which was totally unfair.
I'm sorry, I just want to say a little bit more about my point.
Sure.
I don't think that that's an example necessarily of what we're talking about. That's someone who sounds like they left the guild altogether, and that person should be replaced. But I think, and I whatever. But I think right now, there's not a lot of contentiousness or factions. But you could see without giving some more concrete examples how a more factitious board could use this.
Just get rid of somebody who doesn't.
Correct, right? Because especially when we're thinking about the stewardship of managing money. If somebody said, this is how I want to utilize money, somebody said, I don't, and it's I'm just saying there are examples where I feel and not saying it has to be a two-strike you're out, but maybe a little bit more information about, what that would look like, because you could see how that could be abused. And I'm not saying that that's the situation now, but if those are the bylaws, you can envision a situation where it would be. That's all.
I think May wants to say something.
I was going to say, I had an experience where I went to take care of my sister in her hospice care out of town. I was gone for 5 months, and I called into the board with reports I was doing education, and they were very good at picking up my ideas and following through with it. They put up with it that long. So I don't think we're looking at somebody just getting rid of them. I think we're really, really interested in keeping our active members.
Because it's hard to get somebody to take their place.
Sarah.
Yeah. Sarah?
Yeah, so just to give some context to the back and forth that the board had on this, and there was a lot of back and forth, because it's, none of us are taking this lightly, and if you look at the verbiage in the bylaws, it's not, we wanted to purposely present it such that all chances will be given. We will be working, and when I say we, the board, whether I'm on it or whoever's on it, but we would be, we agonized over this. How to, because we're all humans, and we have discussions on the board meetings that aren't, some of us disagree, we agree to disagree, but there was a lot of thought that went into this to say, we don't want to have the hard and fast Robert's rules because that's very constricting. We want to take everything as a case-by-case basis. And, like with the performance improvement plan, maybe it's 2 strikes you're out, maybe it's 3 strikes you're out. If the treasurer's not paying bills, that's a serious, people being ill, we've all jumped in, each other out. So there was a lot of discussion on this. And it wasn't, we're presenting to you what the end change was that we're presenting, but it's not, it's not a hard and fast. It's really a case-by-case basis. And to Katie's point, yes, hopefully there isn't a situation where, there are factions within the board and they decide they're annoyed with somebody and it's like, well, let's boot them out.
Honestly, most times when we elect a board, the board members are all friends to start with. Am I right? Think about it.
Well,
most of them are maybe
I'm kidding.
Okay, so nobody was my friend. I was there all by myself and nobody liked me, but some people volunteered to help out.
No, I'm trying to inject.
But oftentimes it'll be like a knitting group, a group of people from a knit-in, and they all volunteer together. I know that happened with Joan at one point when we were having trouble getting people to volunteer to be on the board. The whole group just wanted to keep the guild, and they volunteered together. So that happens sometimes. Yeah.
In order to avoid a capricious board, we do have job descriptions. And the closer we look to align our performance evaluation with the job descriptions, that would be where there was a complete chasm between those two. The job performance is not meeting those job descriptions. That would initiate a performance improvement plan that might incorporate 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But as long as they're improving, there's no justification for us as a board to remove them. So I think that avoids that whimsy or capricious nature of a board to pick the one that they don't like. I don't know how better to phrase that, but that's not the intention of this.
And I agree, and in a place where we have very few people volunteering to help, that person's duties end up falling on the other board members. So it behooves us to keep people that are actually going to do something. If we can get them to do something, if they're having problems, we jump in. We're happy to help. That's happened on multiple boards, probably almost every board. Anybody here who's ever served on a board in the guild, if somebody had a problem, somebody else stepped in and helped them with it, I'm sure. In fact, I'll go the other way. Has anybody here ever been on the board and had a problem and asked for help at the board meeting and not received help? Raise your hand. The problem is more the people who just stop showing up and stop doing their job. And I can tell you, it's a lot harder to do somebody's job, like it's really hard to do the treasurer's job if you don't have the checkbook.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying. Any other discussion? I'm still going to put this up for a vote because it's been out there for a long time. And I'm still going to put this up for a vote. You feel free to vote against it if you feel like that this is an issue that's big enough that we need to go back to the drawing board. Feel free to vote against it. I'm not going to remember who voted for it or against it because I'm just not that good at it. But I'm not good at remembering that sort of thing. Did you have something, Meg? Call. That's what I'm going to do, okay? So all those in favor of changing the bylaws in the manner to which have been online for many months now. If you're for it, please raise your hand. That's a lot. I'm going to try the other way and say, if you're against it, raise your hand. 3 people. Okay, we had more than 3 that were for, so it passed. And if you guys, I'm happy to talk to you guys about any concerns you have. We can do more editing if we want to and put it up for vote again, if you feel really important, if you feel that your point is really important. Otherwise, we have new bylaws. Yeah, you guys put that. Okay. One thing I had a tips and tricks before we go on to the business reports, because this is kind of fun. We do our. So you guys know that I take yarn to the prison at Potosi. What you don't know is sometimes many times what I end up with is getting everything out of Ground's closet when she dies. The kids drop it off, okay? A lot of times there'll be a bunch of little tiny balls of yarn. And I figured if it's not enough to make a stripe and a hat, I don't send it to them because, what they going to do with it, I don't know. But I was just talking with John and some others, and they were talking about these helix hats. I made 2 of them. These are made out of bulky weight yarn. So I took the pattern, there's a free pattern on Ravelry that I don't remember the name of right now. If you look up helix hat, that's what the name of it is. It's written for worsted weight. This was bulky weight. I just adjusted the number of cast on. It's kind of look cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you really even look at this? Some of this, as I didn't realize when I started to do the hat, some of this is macrame twine. But it still feels soft, and it's kind of big, but we have a lot of people with big hair. I have a big head. It's not, this fit my husband. We'll leave it at that. It's got a big head. This is another one that I did, and the main color was just some bulky weight yarn that I had in my closet. It was like half a skein. It was enough to be kind of the background color and add the others. And the thing that really knocked my socks off at the end when I finished it, the spiral. So it doesn't even look like the spiral here, but the spiral actually continues all the way to the top. And it goes.
Oh,
Which I thought was awesome. So I brought this here to donate them today, but I thought I'd have them here because John wants to talk about it because it's a possible. A headband, man. It's a headband.
I can't remember the last time I wore it.
protect your airline
You
pilot.
already hearing? As Mary said, there might be a possibility of doing a tulipo knitting educational opportunity in January. I'm currently developing these patterns. These are done helical knitting as well. This is not out of chunky yarn. This is out of DK/worsted. The Cascade company has decided to change the designation on their DK wash from a 3 to a 4. So when I buy some of this, it's labeled as a 3, some other of it is labeled as a 4. So they seem to play well together. This has got a mixture of numbers 3 and 4. This is all number 3. Same yarn name and description, different yarn numbers.
But it's helix, but it's different.
It's healing. I mean, you can almost, I don't want to go into the education today,
Okay.
but you can modify patterns fairly easily using helix knitting and avoid a whole lot of weaving in tails or carrying yarn up the back. And there are ways, this is done by a single row at a time. This is done double row at a time. So there are different ways that we can talk about when we get to that session next month of how you do this. It is also possible to do in business. A little bit more difficult with the thumbs because of the very narrow diameter, but it can be done. It's fairly simple to do, even in children's sizes. So, depending on confirmation of our next month's presenter, if I get confirmation from that person, we will continue with that program. If not, then I will do something about it. It's this my opportunity for VP education, or am I?
Sure.
Okay, let me just
Maybe
take
you
one
don't
other
mind going
minute.
out of order, right?
I'm still about to say, I have an idea, and I know everybody says, oh, no, not one of John's ideas. It's so detailed
John?
that I won't be able to follow it.
Okay.
Or should I, my ideas. I would like to run this past you, if we do a technical event like every third month, go into some detail on some topic. Every third month, and try to have the other 2 months in between, less detailed and more general.
Don't say it before we go. Don't let it. Sounds good to me.
Okay. So at least we have an idea. January, I'm just going to use this as an example. Helical knitting in January, skip 2 months for something less detail oriented and something knitting focused, obviously. But less detail oriented, and then have a deeper dive in, say, in March for some other topic. Color work, socks, sock heels, something like that. And then every third month have a detailed, so we know in our calendar what to expect when we get there, instead of just having to rely on Sarah's little blurb that says, John hasn't made up his mind yet. No, I implicitly would say that to her when I give her the email. Well, details to follow, which means John hasn't made up his mind yet. She knows that. And I think you know that too whenever you read the blurb, because I don't think any of it's in your notes. So I'll work on that to give a calendar for the following year through August at the next meeting. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question that I just joined last month, and Riola and another lady got I guess it was during education, I don't know, but it said that they were going to have a class starting, I think, in January to learn how to knit the little baby.
John, if you'll let me address this was something that I meant to talk about and forgot because we got into the bylaws pretty deep, and then I forgot what I was doing because I'm old now. But yes, there is a knit along. That's not part of, it's kind of part of the education program, but it's going to occur mostly before the meeting. So remember, we have the meeting room opens to everybody at 1 o'clock. We don't have our meeting till 2. So for that hour, Joan and Riola, who neither of whom could be here today, but sent messages to us via Laura that they're gonna have like yarn prepared for us. You have to procure your own. It's the Baby Surprise Sweater by Elizabeth Zimmerman. And the original pattern, which I got a copy of from a yarn store years ago at some point, purchased at a yarn store. Because it's important that you purchase it, that you not borrow it from your buddies. It is a copyrighted item, and those of us who write patterns know the importance of copyright, so please don't snitch it from somebody.
Yes. Is that still on Ravelry?
It is, I believe it is on Ravelry. I am not,
It's on Ravelry, but you have to go to Schoolhouse Press.
Schoolhouse Press.
Yeah.
And
So Ravelry points you to Schoolhouse Press, is that correct?
Yes. So they're going to have the yarn.
They're going to have yarn, you're going to need needles.
Do we know what size needle, or we're going to follow the one on the pattern?
You can follow the one on the pattern, but there will be various size yarns. What we expect, and again, Joan and Reel aren't here because they're the ones that put the kits together, but what we think is that it's mostly weight 4 and weight 3 yarn. So if you could bring a couple different size needles.
So I've made like 25 Baby Surprise sweaters. 3.5 ounces of light 3 yarn, and I usually use 5s or 6s, and I knit snugly. So if you knit loosely, bring 4s. If you knit snugly, bring 6s.
And here's the cool thing about the kits that they're bringing. These are from Tony's stash.
The other thing about the Baby Surprise is,
So she said what she was using was size 4 or 5 needle?
Yeah, I usually use a 5.
I brought this one to donate. I taught it at Seven Sisters, and we do have a pattern. And you get the needle to fit the size yarn you're using.
Right.
The ones we have there is a sample Joan knit with probably size 4. I did this one on an 8. And then we went back in the class and added cuffs and put a hood on it. Because it is the most favorite sweater of every father I've ever donated one of these to, because they don't have to walk all the way back through Home Depot and look for the hat that the kid threw off while they were buying plywood. So they can be huge or they can be tiny, depending on the needle and the yarn that you're using.
I made it with sock yarn.
Size 8?
Yep.
Well, the
worsted weight,
worsted weight, I like to use a 7 on worsted weight. That's for me. Everybody has their own thing. You know, if you do your worsted weight,
Are we going to start that in January?
we are starting that in the next meeting. So they will have the kits with the yarn from Stony Stash at the next meeting. So you should bring some needles. And I just think it's so especially cool that it's from Tony Stash.
I'll put a reminder in the newsletter.
There will be a reminder in the newsletter. We got,
How do you
so
sign the newsletter?
it's email. You get
Oh,
email.
email.
Yeah, we can email you the link every month.
I'll do
Yeah,
that this time.
Yeah, make sure it's not in your junk file, because we're the coolest part of the email you get, probably. It's like 2 hands over here, or somebody was pulling their.
If you want a head start on the class, I believe Schoolhouse Press has a YouTube series on the baby surprise jacket.
So there's a YouTube series on the baby surprise jacket. This is very famous. I know my cousin makes them all the time. She's made them, when she makes them with fingering weight, they come out to be newborn size.
Yep.
When she makes it with weight 3 yarn or sport weight yarn, it comes out being, like a 3-month sweater. And when she makes it with worsted weight, it's like a 6-month or 8-month sweater. And she's a list knitter, so.
Just a hint, if you buy it from Schoolhouse Press, you have a chance of buying it as a package. And you can get like a book and all that, and the digital thing, and you can make one adult size.
Yes.
If you want.
Yeah, I have the
And
book.
it's permanently on there, so that's just a hint for those that are interested.
Yeah, so, this could be your toe in the water, and then if you buy that, you don't have to buy that kit necessarily all through, but if you really get into it. I've never seen anybody make a full size. Cool. Any other questions about the baby surprise thing? And I'm sorry, John, that I stole your time. Did you have some?
No, I'm finished.
Okay.
Unless anybody else has another question for me.
Any other questions for John?
I have a problem. We have scheduled potluck on June 14th, and I will be in New York City. My daughter and my husband have both been chosen to sing at Carnegie Hall with the children's choir. I'm not missing that. So I would like to have a committee to work on the potluck. The things that are needed is somebody who's a general chair, basically just to check in with the other people. We need somebody to help set up, beverage, cleanup, and de-stash. We are going to have a de-stash available. You will be allowed to buy a table for $5, and we should be able to have 10 or 12 tables. These will go to members who want to have their knitting items to move before we open it to somebody who has something else or somebody else that wants to use one from outside the group. So I'm going to pass this around. I'm going to start it over here, just try to make it go all the way around. I have a cold, so I'm trying to stay away from everybody right now. And I'm going to leave shortly because I also have another event tonight that I have to prepare for. So if I pass this around, I'm asking for a name, email, and a phone number. I like to use the emails. It's a lot easier than trying to play phone tag. But if there's anybody who'd like to sign up, if you know what you want to do, try using one of the short names underneath. I've got them listed here. Thank you.
All right.
I think that's it.
Sarah?
This is all right. It feels weird. Can you hear
It
me?
does. It feels weird.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I need reading glasses. Anyway, we are. Do this. Yeah, do this. Okay. We are very close to our goal of 1,200. everybody, give yourselves a round of applause. And raise your hand over there. Is that the camera where people are watching your film?
Yeah.
Over here. Okay, everybody who watches that wasn't able to attend the meeting, give yourself a round of applause too. I'll give a shout out to the members here who watch us. So good job everybody, or great job everybody. It's pretty amazing, and not only have we gotten a lot of hats, but we got a lot of scarves. There's gorgeous scarves over there. Mittens, socks, stuff for warm weather, or for cold weather. You probably made somebody's day, if not, month or year. I mean, you're making a difference to people, and it's really hard. Especially when it gets really cold out. You think of people that aren't, they may not have a roof over their head. Or they may not have a whole lot to their name, and so some of these scarves and hats that are, so gorgeous gives them something in their own. Sorry about that. Holidays getting here. I think of all the animals and people and everything. It's like, I want to take you all in. Last count, we were at 102 for the T-top sweaters. We got another one over there, so our goal was 135. That's phenomenal. We started that this year, and pretty amazing. So thank you very much. And Paula is not here today, so she may have even gotten more. So we're super close. And of course, a big thank you to everybody who donates anything: charity yarn, needles, books, and like I said, all the warm blankets, the throws, the mittens, the socks, the hats, everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And a big thank you to those who take the items, store them, and then distribute them. If you have any other causes, charities that you think can use some of these items, please let us know. We're always looking for places to give our stuff to. It's appreciated. I put a couple of the letters that we got in the newsletter last December. I don't know if you had a chance to read those, but people really, really appreciate what we do. So thank you very, very much. And happy holidays. Oh, we're not talking about this.
Okay, for our communications, I don't have a lot today. We will try to look for more festivals next year. If you guys know of any that are in your neighborhood or in the community that you live in, let me know, and we'll try to get more taken this next year. The guild password was going to change on January 1st, but it's not because I haven't made up one yet, and we didn't get it in the newsletter, so it'll probably be February 1st. So we'll make sure that we communicate that out to everybody. And if you have ideas for a password, let me know. I just haven't thought of anything yet. And then the other thing was, if you are paying online, we do have the option now for you to just use your own credit card instead of going through your PayPal. And I know one person has done that already. Awesome, it worked. So when you go to check out, you can just use your own credit card. Because I know a lot of people are uncomfortable using the PayPal option, but I'm sure you've all bought yarn online and you can just use your own credit card. So that should make things a little bit easier for everybody. Any questions?
Pam, do you have anything to say today? No, Pam is cool. Pam doesn't talk a lot. Not here. And membership Diane's not here today, but it's a rainy day and there aren't many people here. How many?
41.
41.
That's good.
That's pretty good
Yeah.
for miserable, cold, rainy day. But I figured it's much better here than it is outside.
Yes.
I'm sorry, 41 plus 2 guests.
41 plus 2 guests. Who are our 2 guests? There are 2 guests. We would like for you guys to, in the future, to join us. Please do. If you can, you got the form already. I know. Just log on to the website GSLKG. She won't let you get away without it.
No, we live next door. She knows where I live.
Right, Joey, you guys.
Joe, what you're saying is that you're dead.
Your hair against your will, blink twice.
Right.
And next is our hospitality
Random number generator, 1 through 41 says number 19. 19 is Sally Ortiz.
Oh,
Sally Ortiz, I hope you like purple.
oh, it's pretty colored.
All right. Random number generator says 36. So 36 was Joanne.
Man, she's ready to bed. She's not even standing up. She's right here for her anyway.
All right, let's see, let's get through the ad that I didn't want. It's free.
You used a free number generator. What did you expect?
All right, 41, our last signee is Jean Rosenfeld.
Okay.
And number 8, Sue Holly.
Oh, very nice.
She doesn't have to get everything. She's better, but let's go on anyway.
All right. Well, that was 4, that's 10%. Should I go on?
Up to you. You know what you got.
I got a lot. Let's do one more.
Okay, one more.
Number 1. Number 1 was Jackie. She just left.
Jackie left.
All right, well, 35. 35 is Kate. Sank.
Oh, Kate.
Kate? Kate?
It's a back row conspiracy.
Nope, that's not the president.
It looks like John's or something.
Kate, John, Kate. Another one? Or nobody claiming that one?
Kate?
No, I'm right here. Kate's
Sorry. I'm deaf. All right, I think that's good for today. Everybody content with that?
And our new picture, by the way, here is made by the people. Now it's show and share. Okay, so you come up to me first for show and share.
If you
And
need
then
a
you gotta
form
line up the camera.
up for show and share, they're back here.
So if you need a form, if you didn't fill out a form already for show and share, we'd like to fill out the form so we know who you are, and we can write down what the pattern name is and what the yarn is, and
Okay, all right, so I want to show everybody the tea-top sweater that I made. And the reason why I told you is because of a couple things. One, it doesn't have to be one color. And if we're getting it cherry yarn, sometimes it doesn't work. The other thing is, Joan showed me, we're using the 10th anniversary one, it's slightly bigger, but the real thing is, do it in the round, not like what they say, in the round, up to the shoulders, and then just do the front and back. And leave it on, so you don't, I hate sewing, I really hate sewing. So I did 3 needle bind up, and you stop at the neck, you gotta remember to stop. Otherwise I can't get it on, and then you do the other 3 needle bind up the other way. The only sewing you have to do is easy peasy. This is a slightly bigger size than the 2, so I thought I'll do 4. My cherry. One more thing. I finished this Thursday. This is
Oh, isn't that adorable?
She's a little wonky, but that gives her personality. Anyways, this is Bootsy the Snowball. It's a Ravelry pattern. And I've wanted to make it forever, and I finally did it. So, oh my gosh, I fell off. Oh my
That would,
Well, it's
that would be turned into like a crib painting.
not too much sewing, but. What's that called? Bootsy the Snowball. made Moon Wave Owl by Andrea Mowry. Moon Wave by Andrea Mowry. It's 4 different colors. And I used UK white yarn. I think it looks good. But, you know, we work with 2 strands at a time. And it worked up pretty fast. So this is a Christmas tree ornament, but it's also a cat ball. My husband has this on his desk, and that's why it's not round. He kind of squeezes it and messes around with it. I don't know. This is called, with the really creative name of Mystery Knit. It's a free wrapaby pattern. Mystery Knit is what it's called. I don't know. And what it amounts to, there's one in process. This was sock weight yarn. And you basically make a parallelogram. And it kind of draws in because you're carrying your yarn up. And so it eventually becomes a round, and then you stuff it. And this is soft stuff, but you can also use a styrofoam ball to get a real round. What, you've made them?
No, we're just agreeing.
Oh, okay, thank you. Anyway,
Into your description.
thank you very much. But if you want a cat ball, you stuff it, you know, I can't hear this but.
Oh, I can hear it.
So one thing you should not do is if you're going to use it as an ornament and not a cat toy, do not put catnip in it and hang it on your tree. That's right.
That is a very wise thing.
Unless you want your tree on the floor.
Oh my God. But that should happen anyway.
My cat would need no excuse to get the tree over.
There is really no age to this, so I would use sock yarn, but you could use worsted and have a bigger item. So I think it's just cool. It is a mystery knit. It was originally made by I think 2014, and it was made as a couple of clues, but at this point it's all amalgamated. So you don't have to worry about finding this clue and that clue. But yeah, it was fun. There are only 60 rows, and it's all knits.
That is me.
Guess who's back? This pattern is called Norwegian Selbu Mittens.
Yep.
And these are a class that I'm developing. It's the free on Ravelry pattern. And I'm developing this, and these two should look different to you. It's because of the way I'm holding the yarn, and I did this intentionally. And this is the other side.
Yep.
Oh, neat.
So this is a pattern that I'm going to be embellishing. I found another book, Selbu Mittens. Can't remember her name, but it's something. Selbu Mittens, and it's a great book, and I'm going to try some of those ornamentations on the cup other than this right for the class.
So what were your 2 ways of holding the yarn?
That's part of the class.
The background yarn on the left of me and the pattern yarn on the right was for this mitten. And I held them reverse on this mitten.
So it shows color dominance, right?
So the color dominance is very apparent on this pattern, and even more so on the detail on the palm.
Oh, that's neat.
And that's all it was, it's just changing here.
Yeah, it's just changing the position of the yarn.
It changes your tension a little bit.
Thank you.
It changes only the tension and the placement of the yarn on the one side, because all it does is hold one yarn back a little bit tighter into the work and allow the other one to come out. So whichever one is coming forward and whichever one's going back causes that much difference in appearance. So I'll let you go on with that. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. Try it out, play around with it. This one. It's called Norwegian Selbu mittens. This was a DK wig, the same Cascade 220 Super Rock. So it's a DK / horses wig.
Very nice.
Okay, thank you.
Well, mine isn't that fancy. I'm Marcia Bray, and I just finished this sweater. And it's Southwood is the name of the pattern on Ravelry, and the yarn is Fibra Natura Lima in the turquoise color. And the interesting thing is, I'm sure most of you remember scavenging for yarn at Tuesday morning.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Tuesday morning find. And I really miss Tuesday mornings.
I have needles.
So in honor of, this is a really simple thing. I'm Gabby Martinez. The pattern is colorful felted Christmas stockings. I probably did these like 12 years ago, so the pattern's probably from around 2010. But I was hanging them up, and I thought I'd just bring them to show you before I finish hanging them. This is just patterns in classic wool. They were variegated. I had 3 skeins.
Oh, they're beautiful.
And I just decided, I think these were 1 skein a piece or 2 skeins a piece. I can't even remember now. But these are some Christmas stockings.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They're felted. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they hold a ton.
They're sturdy. They're more candy than I buy.
I'll get it next time.
I love it.
She has 23 more.
Do you want some buttons?
Thank you. You always keep your
Gonna have the sweater with it?
Sweater.
This tag's that low beads are quite rusted and itchy, so it does not touch my skin. Anybody else for show and share? If not, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and our program is holiday themed. If you didn't already notice, there are holiday goodies over here that have been slowly disappearing. So please come get some. Now is when we're ready. And by the way, everybody here is a volunteer, so thank one of our volunteers if you get a chance. And the program will start at 10 minutes, which should be about 3:26.
I think I'm going to give us some more.